Jeremy, I think we're starting to see a little bit of desperation out of the Kamala Harris campaign and a little bit of panic. If you were a Democrat looking at these numbers objectively, Jeremy, how would you spin them?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been looking at the kind of top quantitative guys on the Democrat side just because, you always want to check. Again, I'm not in the cheerleading business. I'm in the analysis business. So, you always want to check your own enthusiasm and make sure you're reading things correctly. I'm really not seeing a lot. I mean, I literally was talking with a reporter from the New York Times yesterday, and I said, of all these data trends, can you share me? And I wasn't saying this in a hostile way. Can you show me anything from the Democrat pollsters that they're excited about? And I didn't get back. He didn't send me anything. And I think he kind of generally agreed with my take on it. I think where they can be more optimistic is to say, in some cases, we're having to compare to 2020, and 2020 was like a really, really unusual election for a million reasons that we don't need to recapitulate here. I think your listeners and viewers all know them. But so it's not the cleanest comparison. That's why we start to look at 2022, which is kind of the post-COVID world, as a little bit better of a comparison. But that's an off year. And there have been a lot of folks now like you and like President Trump and other people who've been making a bigger push for our voters to vote early. And you should, again, I encourage our voters to vote early. So, but that all kind of makes things messy. So again, the fact that we are going to be 23 points of a less deficit in Pennsylvania going into election day doesn't mean that you should add 23 points to the final, Republican total from 2020 there, and that'll be how it'll turn out. I mean, we are cannibalizing our election day vote to be, by some, to be sure. And so I think that's what they can point to. They can point to the fact that there's just a lot of uncertainty out there, that the really key tipping point states are the ones we don't have a lot of data. And then, to be fair, also Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, with the exception of 2016, these states have fallen into the Democratic column in almost every recent election. I think Pennsylvania all but one going back to the 1980s. So these traits are all, in a way that Ohio has kind of done more decisively, or Iowa, they're all kind of trending, I feel like, permanently, not permanently, but over the long term, they're trending very positively for the GOP. But whether we get over the hump, it's just not 100% clear. And that's why you need to go out, and your listeners and viewers need to vote. And of course, I assume they're all going to do that. But as you said, take a kid, take a grandkid, take a friend, take your parents, whoever you can get out to vote, looking up and down the ticket. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, and so Jeremy, I mean, look, the Democrats are banking on college-educated voters, the abortion vote, and the female vote. Final question, Jeremy, what can you tell us about how Donald Trump is making gains with working-class voters of all backgrounds?
Yeah, well, he has. And I mean, that's sort of been the encouraging thing. And I have a piece on my Substack today talking about how it's a little frustrating to me, given how anti-white the Democratic Party is, that we're still lagging in some of these college educated and graduate school educated Republican voters, or just voters in general. But in terms of the multiracial working class, we're doing extraordinarily. Not only is the white working class vote turning out what looks to be like record numbers, but we're seeing what I think will be potentially modern records, going back to, you probably have to go back to Eisenhower before you'll find a GOP presidential candidate who will take what I predict would be a higher percentage of the Hispanic vote, a higher percentage of the African-American vote. And a lot of that is coming from the working classes of those communities. So that's really encouraging. It doesn't solve some of our problems with the elites that I think are real governance problems that I explore in this article on my Substack, which is at jeremycarl.substack.com. But it's votes. That's how you win elections. If you don't have votes, you're not going to win elections. And the fact that we're building this multiracial, kind of coalition is, I think, encouraging beyond just winning elections, but just for the unity of the country going down the line.